Welcome to our webinar. My name is Lexi, and I am just going to go over a couple of housekeeping items and then pass it over to this lovely panel of guests that we have today. First and foremost, thank you for joining. We are excited to have you here and to talk about kind of some agency best practices and how to scale your hosting an agency. If you haven't already, please feel free to drop where you are joining from in the chat. And I do just want to say we have opened up the chat to everyone here today. So you're welcome to send it to us as hosts and panelists if you want to keep it internal, or you're welcome to send it to everyone where you're joining. I recently just relocated to Austin, Texas. So that is where I am joining from, but we have some panelists from all over the world, which is great. And if you have to hop out or you have anything you need to get to today, just keep in mind we are recording, so we will be sharing that out after the webinar. Okay, so why are we here and what are we doing? Welcome to our Scaling Smart, building a hosting revenue model for your agency. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about agency best practices and all that is included. I'm not here to be the star of the show. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to the lovely Grace Pierce. She's going to be our host for the webinar, and she's going to take you through a number of questions. And then we will pause at the end for some audience question and answers. So it's the best and easiest way to track that in the question and answer section of Zoom. So please share any questions there, but also please feel free to participate throughout the webinar in the chat. Grace, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell me what you do and what you do at WP Engine, and then take it from here.
All right. Thank you so much, Lexi. Hi, everyone. As the slide says, I'm Grace Pierce. I'm one of the sales managers here at WP Engine and your host for today. So I'm coming off of a little bit of a cold, so excuse me if I cough a little bit, but very nice to meet all of you. Like I said, I'll be your host today. I started at WP Engine about 4 years ago, and it has been like an incredible career journey for me. I started out as an account manager. So if you are a customer with us already, then you know and hopefully love your account manager. And so we work, and now I manage a team of 8 account managers. So we work to make sure that your accounts are in good standing, that you have room to grow, and that, anytime you have a client that you'd like to refer, we handle that as well. So we're really overall taking a consultative approach to making sure that you are partnering with us in all the right ways, and vice versa, right? So that's about me. And I live in Austin, Texas. Before we dive into the panelists, I did want to take a second to appreciate, all of you for being here, for making time. Whether you're looking to grow your agency, strategize, on optimizing, or, just sort of needed an excuse to get away from your inbox. We accept all the reasons, right? And I'm so happy that you're here. So thank you so much for being here. Moving on to our panelists, we're joined today by 3 amazing agency leaders who have scaled their business using WP Engine, have lived to tell the tale. So let's meet them. We've got Saban, the founder and managing director of Thunderbolt Digital, Ben Fox, founder of FP Digital, and Allie Hughes, the CEO of Hughes & Co. So I will we'll start with Saban, let them share, what you do, and a quick story about how you got started.
Hi, everyone. So I've been in advertising for 25 years, selling advertising space initially, and then moving on to the digital landscape. Thunderbolt's been around for coming up to 13 years now, and we're a full service digital agency, Google partner. And again, the reason I'm here is I'm really happy with WP Engine. Their account manager, Ian, is fantastic, or my account manager, Ian's fantastic, and probably a lot of the reason that I actually said I'd take part in this. Obviously, I'm here to try and help and give some people some advice on how to scale your business. And I hate sort of talking about myself, so I'll over to Ben, really, I think.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Fox. I'm the managing director at FP Digital. And we've been around not quite 25 years, 12 years. We started as a product company. We had a small WordPress plugin called Sidekick, which was designed initially to allow me to download my brain into my dad's blog so he would stop asking me questions. It was picked up by, at one point, WP Engine, GoDaddy, New York University were all installing it. But to fund this little project, we decided, let's just self-fund it doing client work, my business partner, Bart Dabik, and I. And the agency side kind of took off. And it due in no small part to WP Engine, who, back when you guys were 30 people, I was coming down to Texas 3-4 times a year. Well, I think in that first year, 4 or 5 times. I'm literally working from a hot desk to the point where I think people thought I worked there. But that's how we, that's how long we've been working with WP Engine. And so we were Sidekick, then FlowPress. We're now FP Digital as we move to be more platform agnostic, but we still love WordPress. But we started building projects in Sanity and some other DXPs. We've recently become Cloudflare partners. So we've expanded our services into security. We don't consider ourselves full service. We don't do design. We can call ourselves a digital back office. So we provide, while we do scratch builds and new builds for web apps and websites. Our focus is on the long term, on maintaining your site, keeping it performant, secure, and growing it with you as your business scales. So that's where we found our sweet spot, and just grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Tell us how you got started and a little bit about you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allie Hughes. I've had Hughes & Co., my agency, for 13 years, and we've been working with WP Engine since, I think, almost the infancy of their platform. My agency got started because I worked in institutional marketing. I had a really big, very public win, and I leveraged that as a springboard to turn it into hanging up my own sign and starting my own shop. We are a fairly traditional marketing strategy and digital creative firm. So we work with mostly large organizations to write full-scale communications and marketing strategies, and we pair that with our digital strategy and creative teams. And we're located in Niagara, Ontario. I think we're just south of Ben. We can probably see you across the lake right now, Ben.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. Really excited to get into it. Let's get into the good stuff, y'all. So look, from here on out, no sales pitches, just real strategies, hearing authentic stories from these agency leaders. So let's start with a common question to get us off the ground. So, a lot of agencies, and I think you all three of you sort of touched on this, you start by building websites, right? Ben, you said for your, creating that for your dad and his blog to get that off the ground. So a lot of agencies start by building websites or plugins, and then they realize that hosting can be a huge part of this, can be another revenue stream. But making that jump isn't always super easy, or something that is very apparent on how to do that. So we'll start with Allie. We'll start with you, if that's okay. And then so if you had, let's say, 2 minutes with yourself back in the day, right? What's one tip that you would give yourself or other people in your shoes on scaling from managing a few clients to offering full hosting plans?
Yeah, so I think I thought a lot about this question before we came on here, and I think it's, for me, I would talk to myself about creating recurring revenue opportunities much earlier in the early days of my agency career. So we were relatively project-based early on. We are not a technical shop, so different from what Ben described. We're a creative firm who needed to find a solution to be hosting our clients' websites on. I mean, I'll be honest with you, in the early days of this agency, when we had very limited technical staff and resources internally, WP Engine really might have been, truthfully, a solution so that we weren't migrating websites, because that felt complicated to a creative first team way back when we were getting started. Of course, now we're a fully resourced agency, so we do have a technical team internally, but that's really how this all got started. We were not strategic about our work with WP Engine in the early days, and when we started to realize what the opportunity was in that. And I mean, we talk about WPNG, we're an agency partner for several different SaaS technology companies, and those relationships create sort of hands-off recurring revenue for us on a monthly basis. And I mean, we're familiar with the current economic climate. It's a really wonderful thing to have a stable recurring revenue source through good times and bad. When I think about the things that we've navigated and how we've grown and how the dynamics of our agency have changed and the dynamics of our client base have changed, implementing these kinds of systems earlier would have made my infancy as an agency owner a much simpler experience.
Wonderful. Yeah, it sounds like you were able to, once you started leveraging WP Engine as like an outsourced version of what your company could and couldn't do, you were able to streamline that process a little bit more. Ben, what about you? Any tips for your previous self? And thank you, Allie.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think because it requires some introspection. So I think partnerships. My advice to anybody, myself or anybody, back in the day, or anyone starting an agency now, partnerships are key. And a partnership is, so I like to say, we're all friends, but when we start making money together, we're family. And that's the relationship I look for in a partnership. That's what a partnership is. It's not an affiliate program. It's both sides looking out for each other's best interests as best as possible. Otherwise, you're just, you're earning. It's not about earning a commission. It's literally it's about having the support in place that you trust these people with your clients and vice versa. And with WP Engine, we get that. With Cloudflare, we get that. With a few other partners, we get that. We've certainly had some missteps where we've trusted people and it hasn't gone right. And that's fine too. I think fail fast, right? Give people your trust in a small way, see if they can see what they do with it. And go with your gut very quickly. Like, you don't want to screw up a client because you've trusted the wrong partner. But definitely, understanding partnerships and the power of partnerships as early on in your situation as or in your agency life as you can is I can't overstate how important that is, because you can't do everything. You simply can't. I mean, we said when we first started, we're like, hey, we're technology focused. I have 10 staff, 8 of them are developers. We're like, hey, we can do all our hosting on our own. And we very quickly realized we don't want to be a hosting company. It's not what we are. It's not what we do. And it's simply not worth it. And it took a minute for us to accept that, because we were young and arrogant and thought, hey, we can develop anything and hosting's easy. And then we met Jason Cohen and we're like, well, okay, no, hosting's not easy. And realized what managed hosting was and formed a partnership there. And that was, I think, really like a key pillar to our success early on. So yeah, no, early Ben should have gotten into the partnership game a lot earlier, hiring a partner manager, understanding that role. We're 10 years in, I'm 42 years old, and I'm still learning that particular piece. And as I discover, as Ali said, that recurring revenue, though, that it's not just about the referral pipeline. It's that recurring revenue, but also knowing that your clients are taken care of when you go to sleep. Core infrastructure like security and hosting. It says, we were talking earlier before we got started. The panel was talking about contracts and law and legal and et cetera. I know that I can put into my SLA that there is a phone number that my clients can call almost 24, depending on their WP Engine level, 24/7, and I can go to bed. And I know that if I wake up at 7 in the morning and there was a problem, because one of my key partners, in this case WP Engine, will have already started a ticket. One of my devs will be informed, and then we can jump on it. And that's huge. It really is a key piece of our business.
Yeah, certainly. I haven't heard that expression, fail fast and then move on. I guess it makes a lot of sense. I'm not a business owner, but like I like the fail fast and then move on and learn from what, caused.
Yeah, especially when you're trusting someone, you got to trust someone at some point, right? So you meet someone, you shake their hand, they seem great, you saw them on LinkedIn, you meet them on a webinar, you want to give them a shot, and a true shot, and do it genuinely, but also believe them when they show you who they are, right? So if they don't meet that expectation, if they don't deliver what they say they're going to deliver, thank you very much, but I can't trust you with my clients, which are my lifeblood, right? So that's how we operate.
Yeah, I appreciate the insight, Ben. Saban, all right. Meeting with your, freshly married. Well, we talked about that earlier. What advice would you give to yourself?
Well, I actually probably got some very good advice from one of my managers a long time ago, and they said, make sure that you don't just sell one thing to your client. Make sure you get 3, 4, 5 things, because if one thing goes wrong, they'll leave you. If 2 things go wrong, they're going to be they're going to be in a position where they could go somewhere else. If you have 4 or 5 different things, then they can't leave you. So if you've got hosting, if you've got maintenance, someone actually did ask the question, how many people are selling maintenance and hosting? Yeah, we do that as well. So, if you've got the hosting, you've got the maintenance, you've got the website, you've got the marketing, etc., they're pretty much then your client, because they're not going to just go, well, I can go to this company for hosting and go to that company, etc. Something that Ben also said, I remember when I started, it was just me and one other developer, etc., and we had 4 or 5 websites, and we didn't know who the hosting provider we were using was. They probably stuck it on multiple sort of shared servers, etc. And websites would go down at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd get a little ping on my phone. And because it's my business, I've said that, we'll have an uptime of 99.99% or whatever. I'd normally be also phoning up whoever it is to say, can you sort this out, or get my developer to try and get into the back end of the server, etc. And it is peace of mind more than anything else. A lot of the stuff that and the reason that we went to WP Engine, it wasn't my decision. It was one of the developers that said, look, we're spending so much time on updating plugins, security updates, downtime monitoring, da 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 da. It's not worth it for us to spend that time where someone else could be doing that work, and we get on with the development stuff, or the marketing or whatever else as well. So I think, yeah, my younger self probably had the best bit of advice from my manager, which is make sure you have 5 or 6 different things, because then the client's going to be they're going to be with you. It's going to be very difficult for them to leave, basically. So hosting maintenance is just one of those things that we don't get things wrong. We obviously make sure that we try and keep the clients happy all times, but it is something that you need to consider as well when you're upscaling a business, is make sure you have multiple different tranches there.
Awesome. I was taking some notes because this is fantastic. So Paige, or excuse me, I don't know what to say Paige. I was looking at her name. Allie, you mentioned that creating revenue streams early on. That goes into what Ben said about how making those partnerships early on and trusting people so that you can create those revenue streams. And then also, Saban, you mentioned that, like, diversifying, offering multiple things so that if one thing fails, they're not going to leave you over one thing because you've shown value. So bringing value across the board. I think those are all incredible pieces of advice. So thank you very much. Question number 2. And Ben, you kind of touched on this, so I'd like to maybe start with you on this one. What to include in a hosting plan. So when you're selling hosting plans, you talked about contracts earlier. So what do you think is critical to include? Security, support, a direct line to you at all hours of the night? Probably not. But yeah.
We're selling a hosting plan. That's first of all, we stopped selling hosting. We sell I mean we sorry, we stopped. It's hosting. So we talk about right sizing with our clients. We talk about making sure they have what they need. We used, back in the day, you would talk about a VPS and gigabytes and data transfer and memory and all that. Don't worry about that anymore, especially with WP Engine, but any managed host. It's more about getting them. It's a service. It's about getting them what they need, the scalability they need. So we talk about elasticity of the servers. We talk about does it require a failover? Does it require, how critical is this piece of infrastructure? All the tons of things you look at, actually, getting Again, a great partner is going to have a solution engineer get on the phone with you, which WP does, which Cloudflare does, well, any Google does, and they're going to be in the room with you, helping you find what the right solution is. So we don't, we talk about things like uptime, but we talk about it more in the sense of our monitoring packages. We have web ops and performance and security packages, and say, there's the basic stuff, and then there's all the things we layer on top. But as far as hosting goes, and the place they put the file, we've stopped talking about the features of it, and more about the level of, here's what you need based on criticality or simply traffic. Here's what it's going to cost you. And we no longer say it's a server of this size, or this is your traffic. Sometimes we talk about database space and rather hard drive space. Sorry, we manage a number of web digital asset management systems, and we learned how to offload to S3 very quickly. Because WP Engine and our hosting partners don't want to be hosting more than, let's say, half a gig or a gig of files. But I don't talk about specific hardware inclusions. It really, just to sum it up, it really comes down to the uptime, making sure they have what they need to be performant at the level they need to be, and then all the ancillary stuff that we add on as the agency, like the additional monitoring, additional maintenance, security, performance, all that stuff, and of course, we talk to our clients about, we're the interface between them and their host. So at our level, we're that warm blanket. The director of digital marketing, director of sales, whoever we're dealing with on that side, sometimes the IT team, they talk to us and we talk to you, because they don't want to have to talk to the host. It's not a relationship. They've got other things to do, and so we handle that. We speak your language, we speak their language. There's an Office Space joke in there somewhere that some of you will get. And that's how we sell it.
Cool. Yeah. You take the managed approach. Love it.
Yeah.
Ali, anything to add there?
Yeah, so I think that we would be selling differently than Ben. Honestly, if we had a client who required that sort of depth in their technical analysis of their solution, I would reach out to contacts that I have who are like Ben, and maybe also Ben after having met him through this process. So I'm probably more, I know I'm more on sort of like the elementary side of the conversation. So the reason we love WP Engine is because our bread and butter is not in technical services. The work that we are exceedingly great at is creative work, strategy work, and that's where we like to invest our time. What we require for our clients is someone that we can rely on to provide the technical end of the solution. And when we vetted WP Engine, that felt good and right. It also allowed us to offer a technical solution without having to be super, super versed very early in our stage of offering anything technical to our clients. So, and when I talked before about having recurring revenue, I mean, sure, the kickback is nice, but also we upcharge on what WP Engine is offering. So we're charging our clients more than what WP Engine sells a service to us for. And then we're layering on top, like, our going in and ensuring that everything looks and feels right on a monthly basis, depending on sort of the depth of service with our clients. But in terms of sort of like how we're packaging this or what we're offering website hosting at a flat monthly fee based on the scale of that website. We don't get too in the weeds with our clients about that. The way that we package that, we're also HubSpot partners. So we use HubSpot quotes to send out everything that we sell. We have boilerplate line items inside our quoting tool that we include based on the size and scale. And honestly, it's very infrequent that the contacts that we would have in the organizations we work with, to provide some visibility there. We're working with tons of nonprofits, hospital foundations, health foundations. We work with medium-sized organizations and companies in spaces where they're just looking for trusted partners to facilitate the work, and sort of they're trusting that who we've brought on is the right solution for them. With our clients who have those like really sophisticated needs, like I say, we're not pretending to know how to service that. We're bringing in a partner to facilitate that work with us. So we operate on a very different model than someone like Ben would. But WP Engine has allowed us to be very successful in offering our clients something that we trust and believe in. So we do it differently. We do it really simply, and we don't layer on much. We really look to this as like a standalone solution that we tack on to our quotes that we sell to our clients, and it works really, really well for us. And then on an annual basis, we assess the performance, which I lean on my WP Engine contact for. They know when my clients are coming up for annual renewals because I'm in their inboxes saying, can we talk about this client? Is everything going as good as I believe it is? Like, I see a little bit of downtime in this month. Like, what's up with that? Or, we have those conversations. They help me generate a performance report. And then I take that to that annual meeting to either keep the contract where or increase the contract based on valuable data insights that I personally did not glean but had WP Engine do for me. So I really lean hard on Anna and her team to resource the agency with what we need.
Love to hear it. Love to hear that you're able to continue to leverage, the parts of WP Engine that make us, in my opinion, so great. So definitely a different approach there. Saban, anything that you'd like to add on what do you think is critical to include in your hosting plans, security, support, phone service, that sort of thing?
I suppose if you're selling the product, then you're not actually selling hosting. For me, I'm not selling hosting. We're selling an insurance policy, basically, that things won't go wrong. You'll have, uptime monitoring. You'll have your updates for all the security patches, that kind of stuff. And the reason we sell hosting, and we need a good provider such as WP Engine, and obviously we've been through DigitalOcean, they know, you name it, AWS, is that a client comes to us, and normally it will probably be for a website marketing. And if it's for a website, they're going to be investing a large amount of money, even if it's £2,000, let's say, and it's a sole trader and they just want a template website or something like that. It's still £2,000 a lot of money for you, and someone could come to us with £180,000 project, but they're not as worried because it's not their money. But for someone spending their money, and they're a plumber or electrician or whatever it may well be, for them, they just want no disruption to their service. They just don't want to be on the phone to you going, what's happening. I don't want to be on the phone to them neither at the end of the day. And what you're selling is, if they're going to spend their hard-earned money, if it's a small company or sole trader, or if they're going to be spending, six figures, etc., they still want a reassurance, and that's what we're selling. And with WP Engine, I think a lot of it's taken away from us. So you look after everything, but we have the confidence that things are going to be sorted out as quickly as possible. You still do need, if you get to a larger scale, you need proper developers on either in-house or obviously as a contractor. But yeah, the reason that I sell hosting is that we're selling an insurance for them that things are going to be okay, and we need a good provider for hosting that can do that for us as well. And that's what I found with WP Engine.
Lovely. Three similar but different approaches that all leverage WP Engine. Woo! So thank you very much, Saban. I'm going to come back to you. You haven't started one of our questions, so get ready to unmute. All right. So now let's talk numbers. I know that you mentioned just now that you're selling an insurance policy essentially. What happens if how important is this website to your business, right? You're selling that and not necessarily hosting. What are you looking to get from it? But let's talk numbers if you don't mind. And feel free to share as much as you feel comfortable with. How do you, and Ali, you kind of mentioned this earlier, so going to come to you next, but how do you determine pricing for hosting plans? And do you base it on the number of websites, clients' needs, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it'll be on traffic, how important the website is to them. If it's mission critical, they can't have any downtime, etc. Normally, I've sort of done competitor research. You can buy hosting from 123 Reg or whatever for pence. So what we're looking at is we're looking at a pricing model that is, we're not certainly we don't claim to be the cheapest in the marketplace, but what they're doing is they're buying on the basis that they've got the reassurance that they're going to have, uptime for a certain amount of 99% of the time. You've got obviously, as I said, the security patches, the daily updates, all backups, all that kind of stuff. So we won't sell it for less than X amount. But what I tend to find is that if they've just spent X amount of money on a website, it's not the pricing isn't that important. They want to trust you as an agency that you can still make sure that that website stays up. There's an old saying which is that it was for HP, I think, but you can use it for Microsoft, is no one ever gets sacked for buying Microsoft at the end of the day. So, you need to make sure that you're giving them that reassurance. But pricing wise, we're probably, I'm not going to sort of give exact figures. We're probably 3 times more the cost of if you went to a smaller agency or whatever. But they're not buying, as I said, they're not buying hosting. They're buying an insurance policy that we will deliver and make sure everything's up and running the way it should be.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know I think this came from the chat. For you, what would be a reasonable, and this will go for the rest of you as well, what would be a feasible or like reasonable profit margin, like as a reseller, like as a percentage maybe?
Well, for me, WP Engine aren't the cheapest, but I've got the reassurance that it's going to be up and running, and that's the most important. Now I've got someone that I can phone up in the evening and get this sorted out. So, I'm meant to be the poster boy for WP Engine, but they're not, they deliver, and that's the most important thing. I could probably make more margin out on, another platform, but if you're making 30% on it, I would be happy with that. But again, hosting is just one of the different tranches that you've got. It's not the be all and end all. For me, hosting leads onto maintenance, hosting leads onto bigger websites, hosting leads onto, well, if you're doing technical SEO, etc., page load speed is really important as well. So again, with Page Boost, we're at 80s, 90s for most of the sites. So that's, in fact, all the sites. So that's also important as well. So it leads into the SEO side of it as well. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Overall, having a good partner and making sure that your prices are set where you need them to be is great. So Ben, over to you. As far as talking numbers, how do you determine pricing for hosting plans? I think it may be all grouped in, as far as what I've understood from you.
Yeah, I have to remember. I think we have a very unique model relative to most agencies. And if I'm wrong, apologies to everyone here. But I think we look at it differently. So we offer our our goal is an ongoing relationship with our clients. What a lot of agencies will call just basic maintenance, we call web ops or web operations, play on DevOps, which is more than just maintenance. It's an ongoing relationship. It's having access to a dev in Slack. It is having some very specific monitoring in addition to what WP Engine provides or your host provides. We're monitoring. We're using Ghost Inspector, New Relic, Uptime Monitor. We've got our own sort of, we call FP Foundations, a little bit of a secret sauce, which happy to share with anyone who wants to know. That's the WordPress community. It's about how you implement it. But so we actually don't mark up WP Engine hosting. We make I should say in very rare cases, but in most cases, we're very transparent through. We say this is the price WP Engine is charging you. Your web operations, your quarterly web ops services include the management of that hosting on top of a number of other things. So that's where our margin is. And we're very transparent with that. And I find that's a much easier conversation because what that means is I can have Ryan, my partner manager at the table, and Ryan can give a price. And I'm not worried, like you're not worried about that at all. It's like, no, that's WP Engine. And by the way, if you stop liking FP Digital, you can go. Like holding us to the client is the service we provide. and that they like us, and that, as Savon said, we've sold them more than one thing, and they're not, but we also, we manage that relationship for them too, which they don't want to take back. But so that's how we price. In most cases, there are a few select cases where it's a huge client, and we do mark up, and we work with our partner to understand that there will be a markup here because there's a lot of work to be done, or procurement, requires that we do it that way. If a client, I'll say this, we also mean, so we have that. We also have our own hosting resources on WP Engine. So we have our own quote unquote server. And for clients that don't want or need their own hosting account, but would still like the benefits of, say, a P2 or a P3, I think we're at a P3 at this point, we will resell. I'll just be transparent. So we charge our clients $300 a month to host their site on our WP Engine resources. There's a little bit of art and science there to determining at what point they need their own account. But that's, if they want to so for that $300, they're getting the benefit of what would normally cost them. I don't even know what a P3 starts at anymore. I think it's like 3,600 or whatever. So they're getting all those benefits, with for a fraction of the price. And we have the ability to control and manage and monitor it, which is our responsibility. So we have those, and we've had clients grow out of that. I'm sure we've all gotten the call from our partner manager that says, hey, this particular client, too big, like needs to go on their own server. It's time, they've grown up. And you have that, and that's a good conversation to have. And that's what we do. But I'd say, I'm sure some of you are wondering what the split is. I think at this point we're 50-50. Half of our clients have their own accounts, and half are on our resources. And it has been as high as, I'd say, 2/3 have their own accounts, and it's been as low as 1/3. It's fluctuated. We're at about 50-50 now. So does that answer the question?
It most certainly does. And I have lots of other questions, but I will refrain in a good way.
I'm going to start getting emails saying, you're reselling our hosting. What are you doing? Anyway.
No, it's all very exciting. I have lots of questions that I'd love to follow up with. But for the sake of time, let's, Allie, I'd love to hear from you to finish us off on this one. If there's anything to add here as far as like, how do you determine pricing for like hosting plans? Do you include, I know you mentioned it's kind of based on websites. Do you include security and all of that?
It really depends on the client, which I know is not the most elegant answer. But I mean, a lot of the same considerations as mentioned by my peers here, though I will say it sounds like we're selling a much more basic solution a lot of the time than what is being mentioned here. We have some clients where we work and manage like top to bottom everything for them. Those clients we bill quarterly, not monthly, and so their WP Engine is just baked into an overall quarterly invoice from us. And it's a line item. We're transparent about the cost of everything. And then we have clients who just do website hosting with us, but anticipate that we'll have a touch point on their site. That's where we're marking up WP Engine, and that's a line item in the quote with them. And then we have clients where we literally just send an intro email to WP Engine and say, this client needs a really robust solution, take the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And they take the lead and manage that conversation from there. So it really depends on what the solution set is. We have some clients who build one website with us, and that's their only website, and that's going to be their only website. Those are relatively simple solution sets. We have some clients who have, dozens of locations across the country, and they have dozens of websites that need to be serviced. That's a relationship that we usually pitch over to WP Engine to be managed independent of us, and we'll just take our kickback on that. So we're not really in the technical business, so we sort of assess what the solution is going to be based on where are we going to get value for our time. So if we don't see value for our time in that equation, we move that client into a relationship with WP Engine directly.
Love that. I think I'm understanding you might do some tiered pricing.
Yeah, we definitely do some tiered pricing, but the tiers are, I mean, I should say it's not a clear yes, it's a murky yes, because when we have clients who are a little bit more robust and who require more from us, those clients are being billed quarterly. So WP Engine is sort of baked into that quarterly invoice versus like, this is what your monthly hosting cost is. It's more like, this is what on a quarterly basis it costs to manage all of this work for you. So yes, but it's not like that's very clearly as clearly delineated as it would be if we're just like throwing them on a monthly hosting plan and telling them thanks for the website work.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Well, we have about like 4 minutes. I'd like to stop at 45 so that we can do the Q&A with, we've got a lot of wonderful questions that have been coming in. So one more question for the panelists, and then we'll do some Q&A. My final question is, oh, I have so many. Which one do I ask? So I think the big question, and this hopefully can be answered in a short time, is if you had, to start over today, what would you do differently? And then overall, yeah, what would you do differently? And we can start with Ben.
Would have been a lawyer. No. Uh, I told my grandmother I wanted to start my own business because my grandparents were entrepreneurs, and she said, "Why? Be a lawyer, be a doctor. It's easier." I didn't understand. It was actually sage advice. No, what would I have done differently? I We always said that we wanted to stay small, and that we wanted to just be, the Jerry Maguire approach of fewer clients, more customer service, and that's great. But if I could get a hold of myself 12 years ago, I would have said, "You have imposter syndrome. Don't shoot for the ground. It's, shoot for the moon, right? So if you want to be small, that's fine, but shoot for 100 people. You're going to get to 40. Don't shoot for 10 people, and limit yourself." And we spent too much time in that paradigm, and we're coming out of that, and that's I'm really proud of my team for that. And we've, with this rebrand we went through and whatnot. But if if you think you want to be a certain size as an agency, shoot for bigger, think bigger, and then be in the position to go, "You know what, I'm good, I'm going to stop here," as opposed to not putting enough gas in the tank, not enough investment. You've taken too much money out. You haven't hired, you haven't taken the risks you need to take, because inevitably things go wrong, and you hit roadblocks and you hit speed bumps, and you have to have momentum to get past your goal. So, don't be afraid to push harder than you think you need to push, because inevitably it probably still won't be enough. And I wish I could have told, wish I could tell myself that 12 years ago.
Thank you, Ben. Saban, sorry. For you, when it comes to what would you do differently in terms of like the way that, your agency has scaled as well?
Yeah, so one of my clients told me years ago, and it's probably the best bit of advice that I can have, or I got, is if you're in a room where you know more than those people around you, get into another room. Always make sure that you have people that are more intelligent than you, or know more than you, I should say, not intelligent. So for me, I would get a lot more mentors in that have been there, done it, without having to do the hard graft and learning myself. So it's so important to get mentors, get coaches, without thinking you know it all, because invariably you don't, and someone's already done it, learned from it, and can tell you that problem as well. So yeah, always look at getting advice from other people that have already done it.
Yeah, I think that is fantastic. That's how I got myself into the position that I'm in, learning from others. We don't get anywhere without, leaning on others. It takes a village, So thank you for that. That's a fantastic piece of advice that I try to put into my everyday life as well. And Allie, bring us home. What about you?
Yeah, so I think that if I could sit down with myself and offer some advice to me 10 years ago, it would be that I need not chase what everyone else's picture of an agency is. So we, for a long time, were big. We had a lot of employees, and we had a lot of big logos on the site. We did small pieces of really, really big work. And we have learned that we are a much happier people in the business of transformation. So we spent the last maybe 4 or 5 years really assessing what makes us the most happy when we're working. And the answer is taking organizations where we really can take full creative reins and drive transformation and make like really fundamental transitions for them that drive big revenue changes or drive big changes in their development departments when we're looking at our clients who rely on philanthropy. And so I think for a long time I spent my time considering what is the traditional makeup of an agency, how many account managers do I need, how many people in this department, that department, and was using agencies that existed to sort of drive what I believed was right. And what I've learned is that the agency is exactly what I want it to be, and I have much better relationships with my clients and much happier staff when we're doing the work that we like best. And so now we always say we're exactly the agency we want to be, doing exactly the work we like best. And I'm about a third of the size that we were when we were at our largest, and there is a lot of joy in that for me. So I think that if I could give myself a shake and say it's okay to just do the work that you like best, and you don't have to have Coca-Cola on the website. We don't even have it up there anymore. Then I would have had a much happier growth track to where we are now.
I really love that. That fits into what I was mentioning to Sabon, which is find mentors that you look up to. Find someone. When I first started at this gig, and I know this isn't about me, but it really plays into this. When I first started at WP Engine, someone said, find someone that you admire and that you want to be like, and then try to beat them, right? Or try to do as well as them, or outdo them in some ways. And so, of course, I found someone and I made it my mission. But I didn't do it exactly like them, which is what you're saying, Allie. Find find mentors and coaches, and then find your own voice and do it the Allie way, do it the Hughes & Co way, right? So thank you everybody for that. I'd like to maybe go back to you, Sabon, really quick as a follow-up. You mentioned that mentors and coaches. For you, who were those resources that you found helpful?
Well, for a long time, I didn't actually get any resources. I thought I knew better than everyone else. So it was a really hard learning curve, unfortunately. And then gradually, and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people in the industry that set up as coaches and they actually know less than you do as well. You've got to find that one person that knows more and has done it and seen it. So I had I suppose my best mentor and my best coach was actually the reason I started Thunderbolt was my boss. I started and we just got on like a house on fire. We literally had the same car and the same wallet and the same trousers, etc. It was really strange. And I said, "Oh, there's an opportunity I could do because again, they deal with international clients." And I said, "There's an opportunity for local," and he just gave me a seed investment. Said, "Go and do it, and if you fail, not a problem." We've been best friends for the last 14 years, 15 years now, but I always lean on him because he's been there, done it, and steadies the ship when I panic and I go, "I know what am I meant to do?" He said, "Look, just do this." And you need someone that's already done it and that can actually sort of give you that reassurance that, it'll be okay. Because often when you're starting an agency, you don't know everything. And you need someone that's actually been there, done it, and can say, actually, don't worry about that. That's not your problem. That is down to the client, because often clients will try and screw you over as well, unfortunately. So it's always your fault and not their fault. So yeah, I think my best mentor was my boss and my best friend now. We are best friends as well. Oh, I think you're on mute now, Grace.
Grace, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. I coughed during your answer. Sorry. Okay. Ben, any resources that have helped you along the way that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, find a great business partner. I know it's that easy, right? So having a great business partner, organizations like the Bureau of Digital, if any of you look those up, and a really solid mastermind group. I mean, everything Sabon said, 100%, and on top of that, You want to find like-minded people to a point. If you're agreeing on everything, then they're great friends, but they're not going to be a good mentor. They're not going to push you forward. They should be, the best people I found. People that come to top of mind. I don't know. Some of you might know Jason Rosenbaum from Crowd Favorite. He likes to throw grenades. He likes to just say you're wrong and here's why. Now and I'll fight you. And he's not doing it to be um, contrary, although he's doing it to push and to say, all right, have you? It's his way of saying, have you considered this? And I love those people. I love, I like the there's got to be a foundation of trust there. And those people are few and far between. Like I said earlier, you start with giving someone a little bit of trust and see how it goes. Be transparent and see what they do with it. And if they give it back to you, that transparency, then and they're smarter than you and they've got more experience, that's a mentor. And they push you, and that's somebody. So that's my advice on top of again, everything Sabon says.
Yeah, I think that's critical, right? What you said, surrounding yourself with like-minded people who aren't just yes men and women. Love that. Allie, what about you? Who has been a good resource for you?
It's a good question. I'm just going to kind of riff off of what Sabon and Ben shared here and note that I am a solo founder. I have no business partners. I own entire company, and I have the entire time I've had it. And so I don't have people at the top inside the organization with me. And so that presents unique challenges. So I actually seek out, I'm not into like the industry specific mastermind vibe. It is just not for me. But I do have a membership to something called the Executive Committee. So Executive Committee is an organization. It's called tech, is what colloquially everyone refers to it as. You sit around a table with like 10 to 15 other founders. There's a minimum revenue threshold you have to hit, and it's people from all different industries. And we present to annually. One of us, you meet monthly and you present once a month about your business, and everyone just pokes holes in what you're doing, and they take a look at your balance sheets, and we have all signed NDAs, and we're just wildly critical of one another in a really loving way. And it helps us be business people. In my tech group, I am younger than everyone by probably 15 to 20 years, and I'm the only girl. And I sit around and have my entire business torn apart, and I come out a lot stronger for it. And so I really do advise that you get perspective from outside of our specific niche, and you accept traditional and non-traditional business advice from sources that'll give it to you. So yeah, so that's where I get my advisement from and my resources. It's not necessarily, of course, I like listen to all the podcasts, I follow the thought leaders, I absorb the content, but I find my very best advice comes from this unofficial business advisory group that keeps me honest and keeps me moving in an upwards motion.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's all like super salient advice. So thank you for sharing, all three of you. We have got about 6 minutes left. So, just as I guess I'd like to go around and see, does anyone have any closing words, anything that you'd like to, for our panelists, anything that you'd like to mention about, how reselling, hosting works for your agency and why you, recommend it? And we can begin with Ben.
Sure, just pick on me. First of all, there's a couple of good questions in the Q&A. Someone asked about process of migrating client site and the experience for hosting WP Engine. Charlie, it's a great experience. One of the things that WP Engine solutions and engineers do really well is that migration or guide that migration. It all depends on how complex the site is or the application is, but if anyone wants to email me and ask me about that, we've done that hundreds of times. I'm sure Ali and Sabon have as well, literally hundreds of times. And happy to walk you through that. Closing, yeah. So reselling, hosting. It's funny, we don't consider ourselves a hosting reseller. We just don't. I never looked at it like that. We're a partner. Grace, you and I are partners. We look at our WP Engine. Yeah, like it's a symbiotic relationship, and not in a. I don't mean synergy. No, it's real, and yes, we earn a profit off of it, and I was as I said, we sometimes charge to resell incremental pieces of our fractional pieces of our hosting resources, or we depending on we earn a commission off of selling your service. But you're a necessary piece of what we do, a very necessary piece of what we do. I mean that in the best way. It's a piece that we've offloaded. It made sense to offload early on, and I don't see how we could have scaled or grown or continue to scale or continue to grow or provide what we provide to our clients without a solid managed host, and as our partner. But yeah, no, I don't. We're not a reseller. To me, seems I think about the back in the days of cPanel, and like yeah, I had a reseller. Yeah, that's in university I was a hosting reseller with a VPS. That's not what this is to me, and it's far more than that. I mean that, and again, and I'll also mention if anyone wants to chat about that or wants any advice or to hear the rest of the story or any of the stories, drop me an email. I'll tell you exactly where we started, how we got to where we are, and all the mistakes we made. I probably remember the mistakes more than anything, but it's yeah, find a good partner, find a great hosting partner, someone you can rely on, and that you can go to sleep at night knowing that they're there, and then move forward with your business and the things you do well.
Love it. Thank you. And just to clarify, reselling, when we say reselling, for me or for WP Engine, it's really like, do reselling versus referring. So referring a client to us directly.
Yeah.
And then just for the broader audience who may not be aware.
You're part of our sales process. It's just part of the process. We're going to have, listen, it's a new build, it's a new scale. We've got a new app for a new client. We got an XYZ. What's the application going to be? Where's it going to go? It's going to be WordPress. We got to get the WP Engine solution engineer. It's like, it's just on the list. And so I guess I just don't think of it as reselling. It's just one more thing. Your SE is someone I don't have to pay a salary to, and yet answers my call. Great.
Love it. Thank you, Ben. All right, we will go to Allie.
I'm sorry, I've been like reading in the chat here. Can you please refresh me on what the question I'm answering is? I know Ben took a question from the Q&A and I can't remember the first question.
That's all right. Just for the sake of time, for sure, we do have 2 minutes left just about. So essentially any advice as a closing remark on, why reselling works for your company.
Oh, sure. I mean, the reason we love it is because WP Engine is generous with their time and resources to their partners. Similar to what Ben said, we don't really think of it as reselling necessarily, as opposed to like offering a really trusted embedded solution to our clients. So just like lean on your WP Engine people and let the systems that they've put in place work hard for your business just the same way that you do. We think it's a wonderful solution. And also migration is a snap. So don't even stress about that. It's this, I've never found a simpler system to migrate with.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. All right, Savon, bring us home. Why is reselling?
I was going to bring you home, but my dog, it's 5 o'clock and he's asking for his food now. So apologies if my dog starts barking, but I'll try and be as quick as possible. I think just to reiterate what Ben and Annie both said, I don't see this as what selling hosting. It's just an additional service which clients will not often want to go with, because if you built their website, they want to stay with you. And hosting is just, someone asked the question, I'm finding it difficult to get a recurring revenue, or what the sales process is. I almost like, I think 99.99% of the time when we create a website, clients will not go elsewhere. They will stay with you. And you just want a robust service that will not let you down. And that's what WP Engine offers me anyway, as an agency.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So this has been an incredible conversation. And Amy, I just see, it makes me feel so great to know that this is a great use of your time. Amy Williams in the chat. So huge thank you to our panelists for sharing their insights, and everybody for joining. I think we have one slide that we'd like to show. Is that right, Lexi?
Yes, but now I've closed my tabs, so we can just keep going. Grace, if you want to mention the AP program and
Yeah,
stuff.
of course. So for those of you who are in it or are not in our agency partnership program, free to join. It's something that we've been talking about there we go. It's the agency partnership program. You can sign up today and start receiving essentially commission for referring or even getting your own server with us. So it is something that you can speak about too. If you are a current customer, speak to your account manager about. Otherwise, you would go to WP Engine and Paige just drop the link in there. It's tons of resources for agencies, whether you are or are not a customer with us already. So there you go. And then we also have new agency plans. Don't have tons of time to talk about this, but would love to, you can learn more at wpengine.com. If you go to wpengine.com, there's a tab at the top that says agency. And then you would just click into that and look into that. And if that is something that tickles your fancy, you can chat in and be directed to somebody to help you out to learn more. And Charlie just asked if we have a link for that, and I think it just got posted again. Perfect. Thank you, Paige. Wonderful. Well, a huge thank you to everyone. And I think that my first webinar was a success. So I really appreciate all of your time and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.